A pleasant change from the blood and guts staple of modern slasher films, The Woman in Black is a throwback to those good old-fashioned horror movies that relied on eeriness rather than gore to deliver the scares. In his first role since the Harry Potter movies, Daniel Radcliffe stars as Arthur Kipps, a sad-faced lawyer in Victorian England, still grieving for his wife who died 4 years ago. With a young son to raise and the fear of losing his job looming over his head, Kipps sets off to a remote village in the countryside for an assignment that involves sorting out the estate of a recently deceased woman. Once there, rummaging through her papers in her isolated mansion, he begins to sense the presence of an otherworldly spirit. From creaking staircases and haunted attics to mirrors with ghostly reflections and ominous music cues, The Woman in Black packs all the traditional tropes that make for a familiar yet entertaining affair. Brace yourself for sudden shocks as doors slam shut on their own and empty rocking chair tips furiously back and forth and pale faces of dead children appear mysteriously on a window pane. None of this is new, but it works because it's done so well. Doused in a pervasive mood of gloominess, the film is beautifully shot and the set design is impeccable. It also helps that Radcliffe is a solid actor who plays an adult quite convincingly. He makes Kipps a character that you care about. I'm going with 3 out of 5 for The Woman in Black. It's surprisingly good fun. Just make sure you stick your popcorn in the holder on your armrest. You don't want to spill it all over yourself each time you jump in your seat.
Please don't go to Ilmar's house.
If we open the door to superstition, where does that lead?
I believe even the most rational minds can play tricks in the dark.
Who's that?
They prey on those most in need.
Now, Safe House, starring Denzel Washington and Ryan Reynolds, is a visceral action movie but with a predictable lightweight plot. Reynolds plays Matt Weston, a young CIA agent desperate to climb the ladder but stuck in charge of a Johannesburg safe house, a secret base to hide prisoners or witnesses to keep them safe. Having spent a year there with no one to protect, he's getting restless and irritable. Now that changes when fellow agents arrive with Washington, who plays Tobin Frost, a former top CIA operative who went rogue 10 years ago and is suspected of trading secrets with the enemy. But even before Frost can be properly interrogated, armed assassins show up looking for him and open fire, thus forcing Weston to go on the run with Frost to find out the truth. Now, borrowing a thing or two from the Bourne movies, Safe House has plot twists, double-crossing, and some high adrenaline foot chases. The action, in fact, is nicely done with more than a few brutal combat sequences that are not for the faint-hearted. But it's the resolution ultimately that feels a bit anticlimactic and not hard to guess from a mile away. Still, it's the two leads that save this film from sinking without a trace. Reynolds is in surprisingly good form as the idealistic rookie and holds his own commendably against his seasoned co-star. Washington owns the film as the morally dubious Frost, arresting you with his presence, practically sending a shiver down your spine as he plays mind games with Weston. Safe House isn't a bad film, it's just unremarkable and simplistic, a mediocre film that could have been so much more. I'm going with 2 out of 5 for Safe House. The only reason to watch it is for its charismatic leads.
This is Weston.
We have a last-minute reservation.
That's Tobin Frost. Kill all the surveillance cameras in this room. Is this legal?
Remember rule number 1, you are responsible for your house guests. They're here for me, but they want me alive. You don't kill.
The safe house has been compromised. Follow protocol.
Who's after us and why?
I think you need to consider how your safe house was attacked in the first place.
I'm taking you in. I want you to take me in.
Now, despite that titillating title, a good old-fashioned orgy is neither funny nor particularly sexy. Jason Sudeikis stars as a 30-something New Yorker who, along with his close group of friends, spends every weekend throwing elaborate theme parties and getting horribly drunk at his summer home in the Hamptons. When his father decides to sell off the place, the group decides to have one daring final celebration. Yes, you guessed right, a good old-fashioned orgy. Now, unlike No Strings Attached and Friends with Benefits, which at least attempted to answer that important question, can friends have sex and still be friends? This film doesn't deal with any of the real questions that might emerge in this kind of situation. A good old-fashioned orgy seems content with making lame jokes about sex toys and masturbation. Each of the 8 core characters come off as such lightweights, it's hard to believe they're actually real people in their 30s. None of this might have been a problem if the film was funny or sexy, but it's not. The orgy does take place in the film's final act, but it's surprisingly dull. I'm going with 1 out of 5 for a good old-fashioned orgy. Who would have thought a comedy about sex, group sex, could be so boring? Go back and watch The Hangover instead. It's smarter, braver, and so much funnier.
Hey, Dad, what are you doing here?
I'm putting the house on the market.
What about me? I'm always out here. My friends are always out here.
It's so sad not coming out here anymore.
You're probably feeling some anger and some misdirected frustration.
You gotta do something huge, but what do you do for a final blowout?
Concept for the final fiesta.
We need to think outside of the box.
All right.
We're gonna have an orgy.
Labor Day orgy t-shirts, right?
Where are we gonna wear these?
Anywhere.
So you just heard what I thought of this week's new releases, and of course we'd like to know what you thought of them. Send us your reviews of these films, post them on our website ibnlive.com, and to all those of you who send us interesting reviews and responses, we've got music CDs and these cool sling bags of Ek Divana Tha to give away. With that, we've also got these assorted titles on DVD from PVR Pictures Home Entertainment just for you. So fire away your reviews to win these prizes. Now with that, it's time for a short break on the show, but when we come back, in our special segment Oscar Watch, we'll examine the Best Director category and a chance to win brand new DVDs on the Really Tough Movie Quiz. So don't go away, we'll be back in just a few minutes.